Good morning, Bermuda. I am excited to be joined today by the Senior Youth Service and Development Officer, Ms. Nadine Henry, and Mr. Teo Wolf, Chairperson for the National Youth Policy Working Group. As the Minister responsible for the Office of Youth Affairs, it is my honor to share my first update on the progress being made to support, engage, and empower Bermuda's youth through the National Youth Policy. Bermuda's National Youth Policy is a 5-year plan centered on 8 crucial goals: safeguarding, education, tackling antisocial behavior, employment, sports, health, civic engagement, and diversity. In 2022, the working group was formed and tasked with providing recommendations for the 8 goals to reflect the broad needs of Bermuda's young people. The working group is made up of a diverse membership with representatives from government ministries that have a youth focus or impact on young people, youth-focused organizations, and young people representing various community groups. The Office of Youth Affairs works with the working group, and over the past year, they have focused their efforts largely on progressing goals 1 and 3, safeguarding and antisocial behavior. These initiatives ensure that we are working to adapt and respond to the evolving needs of Bermuda's youth. In 2023, the working group met regularly to present the research of subgroups and to develop recommendations for each of the 8 policy goals. Set up 3 subgroups responsible for broadening discussions and providing alignment between goals to help increase clarity and focus. Participated in research so that youth policy initiatives are aligned with international practices. Hosted 3 youth forums to provide opportunities for youth to speak directly to the minister on topics of their choice. Created 2 surveys to establish the current concerns and challenges youth are facing, with 1 survey being completed and the other one in progress. Planned 2 conferences for 2024 to facilitate free expression, exploration, and discussion on issues and solutions relevant to and affecting young people. Facilitated the first safeguarding workshop to drive implementation on safeguarding policies throughout public and private youth services, and focused on youth entrepreneurship. I am pleased to highlight that in alignment with the National Youth Policy and National Safeguarding Policy, the Office of Youth Affairs established a standard for organizations receiving grants. All organizations that interact with youth must have a child safeguarding policy in place to protect young people's health, well-being, and human rights. I commend everyone who has played a role in supporting the National Youth Policy and look forward to working with the Office of Youth Affairs to see that Bermuda's youth are engaged and empowered. To better understand the efforts being made to support Bermuda's youth, I encourage the community to read the National Youth Policy as well as the work of the National Youth Working Group. The report can be found, and this is the progress report, can be found online at www.youthpolicy.bm. Again, www.youthpolicy.bm. At this time, I wish to welcome our Senior Youth Services and Development Officer, Ms. Nadine Henry, and Mr. Teo Wolf, Chairperson for the National Youth Policy Working Group, to share more about the progress of the National Youth Policy.
Okay, thank you, Minister, and good day, Bermuda. As the Senior Youth Services Development Officer, I am grateful to be here today to share how the Office of Youth Affairs is working with the National Youth Policy Working Group to achieve a well-articulated goals of the National Youth Policy. Collectively, our focus is supporting Bermuda's young people to have a positive and productive future. I am thankful that the working group is comprised of a balanced array of highly skilled and committed individuals. Working with them helps fuel our efforts and shaping strategies across various fronts. In 2023, recognizing that organizations required support from establishing child safeguarding policies, in November 2023, the Office of Youth Affairs hosted an introductory workshop entitled Safeguarding Across Our Borders for organizations that work with children and young people. The event was productive, with several organizations participating. As we continue to strengthen the work associated with this policy goal, we will work closely with members of the National Child Safeguarding Committee. We also recognize antisocial behavior continues to be a major concern in Bermuda. So during the fiscal year of 2023, the Office of Youth Affairs provided grants to organizations that carry out the work to support youth to overcome antisocial behavior. These organizations included Albina's Vision, Bermuda's Overseas Mission, Bermuda Sea Cadet Corps, Bermuda Sloop Foundation, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Dibia Dream Bermuda, the Family Center, North Village Community Club, Raleigh International Bermuda, the Skills Development Program, and WinReach, to name a few. As well, our community centers are a key source to support combating antisocial behavior. And during 2023, the community centers offered over 30 enrichment programs such as Free Up Fridays, Boys and Girls Club, as well as exploration into gardening. They were all well received by our young people and families. In 2024, two major initiatives will come out of the Office of Youth Affairs and the National Youth Policy Group supporting. Our focus is to launch a national youth survey, as well have middle school and senior school students in a conference. The first of a two-day conference, an all-day conference, will be held this month, the end of the month, Thursday the 25th of January for senior school students, and the 26th of January, the Friday, for primary and middle school students. Both events will be held at the Botanical Gardens. The conference is designed to give young people the opportunity to reflect on who they are and their place in society. Activities and breakout sessions will be designed in a way to allow young people to be vulnerable, to speak to us, to let us know what they would like to have out of their country. Topics on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Online registration will begin on Monday, the 15th of January, 2024, of course, at 9 a.m. You can go to www.TOYA, which stands for the Office of Youth Affairs, events. So www.TOYA, T-O-Y-A, events, events.bm. For more information, we invite the public to contact the Office of Youth Affairs at 295-0855. We understand the changing needs of our young people in the community, and the Office of Youth Affairs will continue to be positioned to support the National Youth Policy Working Group and provide youth programs and services that lend support to our youth. I want to take this opportunity to thank the National Youth Policy Working Group. We have the chair here, Mr. Teo Wolf. We have members, Mr. Sion Tatum and Danny Rodriguez, for tackling the issues head-on that address our youth. I also would like to take the opportunity to thank the Director of Parks and her team for their support in providing full access to the Botanical Gardens. And of course, we are very thankful to our minister for the foresight and vision to further engage our young people during out-of-school periods. I will now hand over to Teo Wolf, Chair of the National Working Group, to give his remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Minister, for your comments. I am privileged and humbled to be here as the chair of the National Youth Policy Working Group, representing an able and diverse group of individuals dedicated to youth work on the island. This year marks the second year of the working group actively advancing the objectives of the National Youth Policy, and I'm incredibly proud of the group's progress thus far. Our focus has spanned across key issues pertaining to young people, from safeguarding to economic inclusion to education, and we truly feel empowered to tackle these issues with the support of the Office of Youth Affairs. The group has additionally been structured into 3 distinct subgroups that cater to providing intimate attention to closely aligned goals that speak to many realities facing our young people today. Above all, it would be remiss of me to not recognize the talented and capable team that the working group comprises of that represent a diverse set of individuals from a diverse set of professional and social backgrounds. I am most proud of the fact that within this group, we have brought intelligent, ambitious, and passionate members of the youth to the table, which aids in our goal of ensuring that our recommendations uphold the values and integrity of co-creation and inclusion, which is something that has been missed in the past. Collectively, we are dedicated to progressing the ambitions of the National Youth Policy through action and accountability. The importance of this mission cannot be understated. On an island like Bermuda, investment of time, resources, energy, and leadership into our community and our community's future is imperative, and our youth remains our most valuable resource in invigorating change, establishing progress, and above all, bolstering our existing strengths. The establishment of the working group and more broadly, the National Youth Policy presents an opportunity for us to enact and catalyze change for young people in a way that has not been seen before. And I truly believe that we are all committed to making sure that this opportunity does not pass us by. Our goal of making Bermuda an environment for young people to thrive in is simple, yet the journey to get there is undoubtedly challenging and will require hard work and, most importantly, collaboration with the broader Bermudian community. I'm excited for this challenge up ahead, and I look forward to actively working with the working group, the Office of Youth Affairs, the ministry, and Bermudians at large in accomplishing this goal. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from the media. We'll start with the Royal Gazette.
Thank you. Good morning, Minister.
Good
Gareth
morning.
Finnegan, Royal Gazette.
Hi, Gareth.
Couple of questions. First of all, you talk about having all these initiatives targeting young people and seminars and workshops and surveys and getting them involved and on board. But isn't the issue that the problem is that those young people who are willing to get involved and get on board and take part, they're not the ones who are vulnerable. It's the ones who don't want to get involved, who need safeguarding. What can your ministry do to address the vulnerable rather than the ones that aren't vulnerable?
Thank you, Gareth, for that question. We obviously will provide program resources for those persons. I think we're all vulnerable in certain states of our lives. And I think it's important that we recognize youth in their vulnerabilities and out of their vulnerabilities. And so what this national policy does is it provides a framework for looking at what sorts of goals are appropriate for our young people. Child safeguarding is one of those. And so we are, that being one of the goals and one of our focuses, we want our young people to know that when they are in vulnerable circumstances and situations, that the government is looking out as far as programs, resources in our community to be able to help the young people who are experiencing vulnerabilities.
Okay. We've had a number of high-profile cases of young people going missing, absconding, running away from home. What can your ministry do to help prevent that? Or is that one of those issues that, it's all down to the individual? Or do you hope that programs like this will make that less likely to happen?
I think one of the youth policy goals is that of diversity and inclusion. And for a while, we need to make sure that youth are at the forefront of decisions that we make as far as policies are concerned. I can't speak to any individual case as it relates to persons who are running away, because it does exist both in people's personal homes and spaces, as well as residential facilities as well. But we have a lot of work to do to show our young people that they are loved and that they belong.
Do you think that's part of the problem, is that they don't feel that they're being listened to, and one of the main goals of this initiative is to...
Yeah, that could be part of the problem. There are many other factors, but that could be, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. On to a couple of other things. Following the 2019 Court of Appeal judgment regarding legal representation for children, is the government ensuring that minors have litigation guardians and lawyers, especially in cases where they might have to be sent to overseas institutions?
Yes, thank you for that question. We, as a ministry, have budgeted for legal counsel as well as, what's most importantly, litigation guardians. And that does exist for representation for our young people. It exists now, and we have budgeted for that to be available for our young people.
Okay. What efforts have been made to enable children in the psychoeducational program to remain in care on the island, getting treatment here rather than having to go overseas and away from their families, which obviously isn't very
Yes,
helpful
thank
to
you
them?
for the opportunity to educate our community, because our first preference is to provide services for our young people on island. That is our first preference. But when our resources are short, or sometimes we have agencies who are not willing or able to provide appropriate services, then we explore other mediums to be able to make sure that our young people have access to the best opportunities possible.
But is cost always a consideration?
Is
Cost always a consideration? Is it a case of, well, we can't afford to have a facility here?
I don't think any child, we provide millions of dollars to children and making sure that they're able to get the support that they need.
Right. And one final question, Minister. Could you tell me what the current situation is with the litigation guardian panel? How many people sit on it, and what work are they doing?
Yeah, sure. So the legislation supports that 7 panel members can be selected. At current, we have 5. I'm actually very proud of the litigation guardian process, because we have worked very hard to provide training and to provide guidelines for our litigation guardians, and that they are available through court orders to be accessible to our children who are in the court system through court proceedings.
Right. Okay, thanks so much,
You're
Minister.
welcome.
Thank you, Gareth. We'll now have questions from the Bermuda Broadcasting Company.
Thank you, Minister. Elisa Bernardo with Bermuda Broadcasting. It's great to hear an update on the National Youth Policy. I wondered if you could share with us what percentage of the working group are youth members?
I'll let Teo answer that question.
Yeah. So as far as percentage, our group in total is about 22 people. That's correct. And I'd say about 10 are active members of the youth, that being within the definition of youth held within the policy. That's something that we're incredibly proud of. That's a stride. And we have high school students all the way up to, some of our older youth members, such as myself. And that's incredibly important. As I mentioned, co-creation is at the core of what we try to accomplish with the National Youth Policy, and we have to make sure that whatever legislation is put in place, that whatever recommendations are put in place, they have to have youth at the table, and they have to have young people informing those decisions. So that was something that, when we were working with the Office of Youth Affairs, was something that was crucial to kind of curating that group, and moving forward for the remaining tenure of the National Youth Policy, we hope to continue that and even grow that number.
Thank you. And Minister Furbird, in your remarks, you said that 2 surveys had been completed, one which you had results for. I'm wondering if you could share any of the highlights from that. For example, what are the most pressing issues facing the youth at present?
Oh, actually, do you want to speak to that, Nadine? Go ahead.
Okay. So the results that we have from the first and the priority categories were mental health, coping with post-pandemic, diversity and inclusion, youth employment, youth migration, education reform, NYP's next steps, of course ours, entrepreneurship, youth leadership, safe spaces, cyber safety, post-grad opportunities, and youth messaging. We will go further into those in the next report. Okay?
Okay, thank you. And looking into the next few years of the plan, will any other data be collected?
Oh, definitely. It is our intent to have this year in 2024, there will be another large-scale survey. It was initially to focus on mental health, However, we've had the opportunity to partner with a committee that has been comprised of mental health, and it's doing some of the work. So we won't be duplicating services. But we will now move on to have another survey with regards to one of these categories. Now, it hasn't been narrowed down as yet, but that will be publicized as well in the next report.
Thank you. And just lastly, given that mental health was a top priority for the youth, will the ministry be bolstering services or funding in this area?
I won't take the liberty to answer that.
I want to, if it is in the public domain that the Ministry of Health has supported initiatives for young people in the area of mental health. They actually did a survey. They were part of a survey where we were able to collect data on the mental health space of our young people, and that was currently that was done last year. So I think that information is in the public domain, and I believe the Ministry of Health is also looking at options for improving upon our mental health opportunities for all people. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Minister, would you like to say anything before we finish?
No, I do just want to echo the sentiment of all the young people, the working group who have worked really hard and diligent to bring forth the progress that we have made thus far with the National Youth Policy. I also encourage our community to go online to look at that policy document. A lot of times we hear of these things, but we don't delve deep enough to what it is that we are doing. And I encourage the community to take a look at that and to assist us where we need assistance when we do acts. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Thank you.